Yo, what's going on, guys? So what I'm going to be doing today is a trade recap from yesterday's price action on gold and silver. So what I always start with when I go into the week is I look what did the previous week do, right? And what we can see is that the previous week hit this key high with SMT. We expand down into the range. Now, specifically, we see that we don't hit anything relevant. We just come back into this weekly range and we still have these targets lower, right? So that is generally speaking when we can expect the next week to expand into these key targets. We open high, making that small wick, and then we expand, right? And since we haven't hit anything this current week and we already formed a reversal, that's when you can expect early on in the week to just expand, right? So if you go to the daily time frame, we can see that we're forming a open high on the daily, right? And what are we coming into? We're coming into the previous daily high, which would be the Friday's high, right? Now, we can also see that on Tuesday and Wednesday, we formed this SMT and we close below this order block right here. Now, we can see that we're retesting it here, and I don't expect this high to get taken. So I'm just looking at this like, okay, if we're going to reverse this day, what are we going to do on Tuesday? We're obviously going to expand. What do we have as key targets is obviously this low, right? Now, do we know for certain that, for example, this relevant low is going to get taken this week? No, we don't. But we can look at signatures in price that tells us the story. So what we see right here is on Tuesday, we hit this low. What are we getting for what are the signatures in price we're forming? It is expansion met with consolidation, right? So Wednesday consolidation. What does first do? Open high into that previous daily high, which is also going to be this fair value gap, right? So we're forming this swing structure where it's exact same principle that we did on Monday here, where we open high, we expect the next Tuesday candle to expand, first day basically coming to this fair value gap, forming this reversal candle. What can we expect Friday to do? Expand into this low now. And that is key, right? Like, this is why I always mark out fail to reverse. If we're not going to reverse of this low, what is the next target? It's this relevant swing, right? So what we also see is that when we're going to reverse, what is the trigger for expansion specifically? It's SMT, right? So what we see on the 23rd of June is that we see that we formed this SMT. So if we go on silver, we can see right here that first day hits this high with SMT. So that's when the next daily candle open can expand, because we don't have enough time within this day to expand, right? Because we're forming a bullish expansion candle, right? So what we can see here is we can mark out the daily open, and this is where the daily Friday repay is actually going to begin, right? So I start on the daily. I understand I have my directional bias. I have my key target for this day. So that's when I go down to the 4-hour time frame. Now, what we see right here is that we basically make no wick on the 4-hour time frame, or we don't make a wick on the daily as well. We form a small wick, but it's not that significant. We want a bigger pulsing round to create a daily wick. But what we see on silver right here is that we basically open high first. What are we forming? We're coming into this consolidation range high. So we basically just consolidate from the previous, since we hit this key target right here with SMT. You see how after we hit this key target, the next open, we just keep it in this range and then we just consolidate. So this would be the consolidation range high. So if 10 p.m. manipulates and we're understanding we're making that wick right here, what can we expect the next candle to do? 2 a.m. to expand. And if we haven't hit a key target, let's go back to gold here because that's what I shorted. If we haven't hit a key target at 2 a.m., what can we expect 6 a.m. to do? Continue the expansion, right? Because we haven't hit that key target, which is all the way down here. So what we see right here is, if we look, we already formed this reversal from the previous day with the previous day high with SMT, trigger for expansion, right? We're also closing below these opposing candles on the 4-hour time frame. So that is when I look at this high as protected. And that's why we use form a internal SMT on the 6 a.m. high right here, right? So I don't trade here, but we can see that we're basically just creating more opposing candles supporting price, which is key, right? So I want you to specifically start focusing now on the 6 a.m. candle. So if we mark at the 6 a.m. candle right here, there's no like real 4-hour profile here because there's so much volume here, so we can't really, manipulate a previous 4-hour high to make a good profile. But it is still a continuation play, so we can look on the lower time frames here. So if we mark up the 6 a.m. and the 2 a.m. candle, we can see that 2am, what is it doing? Let's see. I don't have the 2am. Let me 2am. So I want you to specifically focus right here. So you see how this is the Tuesday low. If we go back to the daily, so we basically fail to reverse. It's that continuation signature. So if you're gonna reverse, it's either gonna be of this low. But if we fail to reverse of this low, this is a really, really high probability draw, this relevant low. So what we see right here is when 2am hits this low, we have another failure to reverse, right? Where we can't reverse of this low, and we are forming continuation signatures, which in this case is a retracement. So what we see is we hit this low, we're retracing into this fair value gap, right? And then 2em closes, or the 3am candle closes below this opposing candle, confirming this high as protected. And that is generally speaking where we can expect 6am to continue of the 2em continuation, right? So we are aligned with the order flow. Now I want you to look here, right? We see that we're basically just consolidating. So 4am, 5am, we're leaving these failure swings. So 6am open high, that new 4-hour open opens high first into this high. So at this moment, we have a SMT on this consolidation range high. So this is generally speaking where we can expect, okay, if 6am opens high first, right? We can't really reverse within this first hourly candle. So that's when we wait for the next hourly candle, which is 7am, open high, and then we start kind of expanding, and then 8am continues, and then eventually 9am hits that draw, right? So now I'm gonna show you the framework behind this. So if you go down to the 5-minute time frame, which is where I enter, I see that we have this, we have consolidation, manipulation, and then we have this SMT. Now I want you to specifically focus on something here. This is gonna be key to understand, okay? So first, we create this change in state delivery. We are clearly respecting bearish order flow. Now, when we look at correlated assets, we want silver to actually trade with gold because they're correlated, right? Like if silver is consolidating, then gold can't really expand, right? So what we see on silver is if you look at the time where we make this change in state, it's around 620, right? And 620 here, you see that we're just basically consolidating, right? We did form this SMT right here, right? And that is pretty key, but there's no real volume. We want, what do we want? When we hit that key high, we want expansion met with expansion, or just expansion away from this high where we created SMT. Now, this is also something I want you to notice here, is that you see how we make SMT, we fail to expand. So now this is the only relevant high we want to start reversing from. What we see is that we hit this high, but yet again, we fail to reverse. There's no volume trading lower. It's not showing us anything. So we see that we're basically just failing to expand past this low. At this point, this is where we want, you know, to see like, okay, what is gold doing? So if we go back to gold, we can see this key time here at around 8. You see how gold is still trading lower, right? Like it's respecting bearish order flow, but I'm not entered yet. And the reason is because I don't see any follow through on silver. We are closing below opposing candles, but there's no real volume and there's no strength to go lower. So that is when I see this, boom, I see 730. So 830 takes out 730's high. This is where I see that that signature, expansion met with expansion. That is a signature to go lower, right? That is the continuation signature, right? That I'm looking for. So when we see this, we have 730 here. We make this SMT, and this is where I enter, right? Because now it's like, okay, now it's showing me on silver at this point. It's showing me that signatures in price, right? Like we created this imbalance. It's showing us strength to go to the upside. We're inversing it, right? And now we're actually supporting bearish order flow. So I still have my key target on gold. So we close below this opposing candle right here, boom, right? And then I wait for another order block, right? We retrace back inside the range, and then I expect 9 a.m. to continue the expansion, right? So that's where I enter right before 9 a.m. for 9 a.m. to just expand, right? And that's when we hit this key target, and that's when I get out. So I can show you the executions. If you can see them, yeah, right here. You can see that I take my entry here, we expand into this low, and then we start a new phase of price coming back inside the range. So this is the gold trade. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm also gonna go through silver now. So the silver trade, this is actually where I do like the complete opposite, where gold hits this key level, and now we have that SMT to the upside. So if we go to silver, we can see right now, let me just remove all of this. We can see that GC hits the 29th of May low, right? And then we're getting some sort of reversal signature. And what we see on silver is that if you look how the daily candle is opening right here, I want you to focus on like, okay, we are within a bearish expansion candle, right? So generally speaking, we don't want to trade against this, but there is signatures in price I am going to show you when you actually can do it, right? So we're going counter trend on silver, but it makes sense. I'm going to show you in a second. So remember that, let me see again. It's that 29th of May low. So we make this higher time frame external SMT. And this is something that Gary teaches in his one of his latest YouTube videos, where he goes through, you know, key SMT divergences, you know, going more in depth into it. So what we see right here is we make this higher time from external SMT, right? And we see that the 2M candle expands, right? And if we go to gold, let me just remove all of this for now. We can see that the 2M candle, we can see that we're you see how we're closing below it, but we're failing to actually close above it, right? So it's not like, and the reason we do that, right, it's not showing us like a reversal signature here, but that's because there's not enough time in the 6 a.m. candle to actually form that reversal candle, right? So that is when we look to silver, it's overall stronger because we can see the 6 a.m. candle actually fails to take out the 2 a.m. candle's low. So we hit this low, we hit this external SMT, right? Now we're forming a 4-hour SMT as well right here. So boom, right? So we have this higher high on silver while I'm making the lower low on gold, right? So what I look at right here now is like, okay, can we form some sort of fractal to trade this higher? Now, like I said, we opened all the way up here, so I have to adjust my targets. Usually what I can do is I can target around 50% of this range. Now, I didn't do it this time because the range is pretty big. So I just looked at the internal high, right? So that would be this hourly fair value gap right here, which I targeted, right? And what we can see is we hit this fair value gap and then we start basically coming back inside the range. But I want to show you the entry model. So what we see right here is that the 9 a.m. candle manipulates with SMT, and at that exact same time, that's when we hit that key low on gold, is where we're forming that reversal candle on silver, right? So I'm using a 2-stage SMT where we have an external with an internal. Also, if we go to the 30-minute, we can see we have a 930 2-stage SMT here as well, where we basically open low first on 930 candle. So let me show you. So we have an hourly fractal, right? We have a candle 1, 2, 10 a.m. We can expect, if 930 manipulates, we can expect 10 a.m. to expand and continue off the 930 manipulation. So we close above this opposing candle, right? And that's then we continue higher. Now there's no real strength or volume to trade this higher. It's just because it's late, kind of like we already expanded all day. So it's not like, it's pretty lackluster, but it doesn't really matter too much. We just have to be patient. But yeah, same principle in the 30-minute. We close above these opposing candles, right, when 10 a.m. open. So we basically gap. I mean, we did gap here. We were basically like just gapped higher, but I see this as a still like continuation signature, right? It's like it wouldn't make sense to come lower here again, right? So my target is here, of course. And yeah, I mean, if we go down to the lower time frames, you know, we have this. So when we form this 2-stage SMT, we create this order block right here, change in state delivery, boom, right? And that's where I take my entry. There's not much more to it. Going count. This is like, so this is the key thing you need when you're going against the daily trend. It's like you kind of like demand 2-stage SMT, and the reason is because like, okay, we already expanded so much. There's not like much range to actually expand. But this is like when we hit this key low on gold, it's like this is the actual only point of reversal. It's the weekly relevant low I wanted this week, right? So this is where we can expect some sort of like where we're coming back inside the range, right? We can't target much higher, but this is like you see how we have like these failure swings here. So this is a relevant high for me to target. So let's go to the executions, right? I put my entry 36, 125. So here was my entry. I put my stop below this low, and then I targeted this high, which is around 2.5 RR. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the trades on gold and silver. I think this is one of my first daily recaps. or trade recaps, I mean. So if you guys like this kind of video, leave a like and comment what you want me to do for the next video. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.